Hey, it's Fitz, and if you don't know who I am, here's a quick bio. I'm a veteran sports journalist who writes, does TV, radio, daily YouTube videos, and I'm a longtime podcaster. Also, I have metastatic stage 4 prostate cancer that came out of remission in 2023. During the pandemic, my doctors advised me to stay at home, and the Life of Fitz podcast was born. 5 years later, I'm back in my cancer battle and continuing this podcast with season 6. As I call the many people I've met through my 35 years in sports journalism, and those who are involved in my cancer journey. Plus, we'll add in a few friends we've met along the way who are facing their own obstacles in life. Welcome to my life and the Life of Fitz podcast. Presented by the great people at Blueville Nursery in Manhattan. Okay, this is going to be corny, but life's a journey. And it really is. And I think you become conscious of it when they give you that expiration date and they say, hey, you're probably not going to see 60. Or in the case of my guest, this week's Life of Fitz is you're not going to see much of anything in adulthood. When you get that, you kind of embrace things a little bit differently. It's hard to explain. But my guest today is one of the blessings in my life because at some point I became the wise old man, which is shocking to everyone who knew me as a young man. And it shocks me, and I'm glad I'm here to be the wise old man. But a part of my life is counseling young journalists. And I'm on the advisory board for the Miller School of Journalism at Kansas State. It's a great honor. And there's nothing really formal about it, but when I meet journalists, I'm conscious of the fact that they're on their journey. What do they need? What can I give them? Little did I know Joe Tillery was watching me. And then he started doing videos about K-State sports, similar to what I do in daily delivery, and he does a really good job. And we connected. And then I found out he has cystic fibrosis, a lifetime battle. If you know what cystic fibrosis is, it's not good. It's a death warrant. And Joe is beating the odds. I can appreciate that. He'll get into all of that and what brought him into doing sports videos and what his daily routine is just to live. And if what you hear from him doesn't make you a little more thankful of the simplicity of your life, it should. It really should. And after moving to Minnesota briefly after graduating from K-State, he's engaged. They've moved back now. They're in Prairie Village. And let's hook up with my guy, Joe Tillery, moving into a new place as we speak. But he and his fiancée, Lauren, are settling back into life in the Kansas City area. And he's going to join us right now on the Life of Fitz. And now we bring in my friend Joe Tillery from Prairie Village. How you doing, partner? You good?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for having me, brother. It's an honor.
No, this is a good one. This is going to be fun. We get a just bellyache about our health for, 45 minutes.
Sounds great to me, man.
I have been impressed with you from the moment I saw your stuff up on YouTube. You seem to be able to collect your thoughts and communicate them clearly, which is not easy, and I don't do it very well at times, but I talk really well. I just don't really collect my thoughts at any point. Because you do that very well. And at that point, I didn't have any idea you were fighting a lifelong health battle that has been with you. Well, you've got cystic fibrosis. And just give me the history of that. When did you find out? And what was that like?
Yeah. So when for my mental side of things, it wasn't so crazy because I was a kid when I got it. It was, diagnosed 3 months old, which young on, but the toughest part was, I think, my folks, because it was such a scary disease and you didn't quite know what was happening yet. It wasn't something that was checked for every kid when they're born all the time. Like, that's not the situation we're in. And now it is that way, which is a blessing because you get to see if kids can kind of go, if they're going to be out the gates, if they start with this, the earlier they get the care, they're going to do better long term. But for my case, I was coughing a ton, and there's certain signs you can see, but generally there's a salt test for you. See, basically, if you lick your skin, it tastes like salt beyond normal. There's your cystic fibrosis. That's a super general way to look at it. But
God, my dog Daphne would love you.
I bet so. I'm popular with dogs. I'm telling you, I start sweating. It smells like a popcorn shop in there. I'm like, no problem. But no, so my mom took me into the doctor's office a couple times, and there's a fine line between is my mom insane or is my kid actually going through something?
Yep.
And
Right.
the medical industry loves to make that a hard line. And so my mom continued to bring me in because I'd go home and I'm coughing throughout the night, basically turning blue from coughing. And this kind of foreshadowed my life. But getting to the doctor's office, the couple doctors that had looked at me would say, babies will tell you if they're sick. He is too happy to be sick. And long story short, eventually there was one guy who came in on his off day. He was going to go fishing. So shout out to that dude. I forget off the top of my head, I was little at the time, but came through and basically said, there's something wrong here. Let's get to the bottom of this. And then after hours and hours of testing, basically was able to diagnose with cystic fibrosis and been fighting it ever since, man. It's, generally for those watching that may not have heard of it, there's a really crappy movie about it, actually, if you watch 5 Feet Apart. One of the Sprouse brothers, not a great movie, but generally that's the disease. And it's a chronic fatal lung and digestive tract disease that basically has to do with mucus all throughout the body. So, your lungs, basically, they describe it as breathing through a straw your entire life. That's a pretty gruesome way to look at it. But generally it's that it affects the way you take, you ingest food. So you got to take enzymes constantly throughout the day. 6 for every meal, 10 and 10 at night and morning. You get about 50 pills a day, generally, if you're trying to eat.
Wow.
And it's just kind of it affects a lot for sure, but definitely something that, I don't know if I was prepared for it out the gates, but, thanks to my supporting cast, my mom, my folks, it definitely set up a way of like, hey, where are you going to be? What's it going to look like in the future? And that's kind of the general of where it started off from.
So on a day-to-day basis, you mentioned the pills, but how limiting is this for you?
Now it's a little bit different. I'll expand on that a little bit later, I assume. But in kind of the prime sickness, I guess for me, it's the biggest thing was these hospital exacerbations. Mm-hmm. I'd probably spend a fourth of the year in the hospital, if not half the year in the hospital, basically every 3 months, if I'm healthy enough. If it's a bad, couple of months, it's every 2 months. I'd go in there for about 21 days at a time and get IV antibiotics around the clock, as well as, different chest exercises and different, there's a vest that inflates and shakes the hell out of me. You do a lot of different things and special exercises on it kind of to keep things on the right path, but it's pretty damn limiting. Like, you got to do breathers, you got to do shakers is the general way I describe it. Actually, you can kind of see the box there beside me, but there's a lot of maintenance that goes to it, and it definitely affects the time that you have to pour into things like, school and family and hanging out with people. It just kind of, it alienates you a little bit, and then you kind of figure out how to add it into your routine. But generally it's about 2 to 4 hours a day, just really wear and tear, lock down the lungs and trying to get things right. And then about 50 pills a day on top of that.
Oh, brother. Good heavens.
I got a good one for the gates, man.
Yeah, it's that we have in common. Of course, that mine happened in the pandemic when I was trying to stay away from everyone. But this portal into the world, this YouTube thing or whatever platform you're on, it's been a godsend for me. I can do work and not, be around people. Honestly, I post-pandemic, I want to be around people less.
Yeah.
But yeah, this enables us to communicate, feel engaged without actually being in the world, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. I mean, I've watched this show, not to just, rave about you for a minute here, but I'm going to
just take 20 minutes and talk about that.
Yeah. Let me just a full podcast episode, Life of Fitz 2.0, great show. No, but I've watched so many of these episodes, and it's the same feeling that you get laying there in the hospital bed. And prior to the pandemic, prior to some of the changes we've had through technology, like, I was able to play video games with my buddies online, playing like Black Ops 2 or playing some game, Madden, something. And you feel like you're right there with the person. And the biggest thing is the community you feel with somebody, despite like, I watch your videos, the daily deliveries. I'm listening to you talk, and you're not talking to the 12,000 and counting subscribers. Subscribe while you're at it. You're not talking to those people, but you're talking to me. And it's like, I feel that in the podcast. I feel that in the videos. And it's been such a godsend because you feel like, hey, this guy's not just Fitz, who I know from afar. This is my friend. And that's such a special thing, I think, for all of us. It doesn't matter if it's your first day on YouTube or, you're neck deep in this thing. It's definitely changed everything for the future and for the current, I guess.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing I had to learn when we started this in 2020 was, I was so focused on the content, script it. I got to script this, and that didn't work. Because then I was just reading. I just decided, what if I just picked a topic and talked about it?
Yeah.
Just like someone threw me a question and on talk radio, I didn't know it was coming. That's generally how we've done the podcast for years is I intentionally don't read the questions in advance. So I just started doing that, and it seems to work for me. I write down some key facts. I get a lot of little things wrong. I'm horrible with names now, Joe. It's just pathetic. But yeah, I just found out just be yourself. That's what, at the end of the day, the information is important, but if you're running a YouTube channel, you're selling yourself as much as anything. People got to like you or they're not going to watch you.
Absolutely. That's the perfect way to say that. And, I'm the king of starting shows and not sticking through with them. But generally on the different podcasts, one of the questions I had that was a fan submitted one was one of your guys now, John Grove, doing a great job. Yep. Saw you made his first appearance at Media Days. Shout out to John. He asked a question, and it was basically with basketball. We've sucked the last couple of years, candidly. Hasn't gone the way we've gone or wanted it to go. And he kind of asked, hey, how do you keep attention high when the teams aren't performing the way that is? It's something that everybody deals with. You know how hard that can be when you're sitting there after a bye week, you're 5-5, you're not going to go, you'll make a bowl game, you're not going to the playoff, you're not doing anything crazy to jump sports there. But how do you keep morale high? And I think the answer, like you said it there, it's about you. Like the content that you provide is a conduit for being yourself with other people, but it is so much so if I'm myself and I talk about, okay, we added Andre Kostic or we add this kid in football or, Dylan Edwards transfers back, like what people want to see is your opinion. Like, yeah, don't title it, this is what I think about Dylan Edwards, but like you want to give your opinion into the situation and people want to see that from you so that when we have guys like the on three guys or the three mall guys or you guys and myself, like if we all make the same video content wise, it's going to be vastly different because the people are different. That's such a beautiful thing about this whole medium.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's been a big content shift in my entire industry is news used to be about the facts, the news. Now we have access to all that. I mean, it's just all that stuff's out there typically. And now it's about the personality delivering it and engaging with that personality and having you. And, we stopped writing game stories a long time ago. And now we just write like a quick game analysis, just really basic stuff. But then everything else after that is typically analysis because anyone can write a feature on the star quarterback, but break down why he played well and what he did and didn't do well. So that was a tough transition to make it all analysis commentary and realize at the end of the day, you're the product. That's kind of uncomfortable.
It's not easy. I'll tell you that.
Because also, you have bad days and you go back and look at videos and you're like, ooh, that was a good one.
Yeah, I don't do that. Everything's perfect usually when I try.
Yes, I meant to tell you that.
Thank you.
I didn't get to that yet, but you're perfect.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, I mean, you kind of just, but you go comfortable with it. I had the whole head thing that went on for a while, and you can still see the scar there.
I think it looks cool.
You got to wear a cap for a while. If comfortable wearing a cap.
If you got a Power Cat tattooed, you'd have your own helmet going on. If you thought,
I know. The doctor said it would fade. I think the doctor lied. They do that, Joe.
I know it. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I think I got the easy side of that because I didn't jump in until things were already really good, and I could kind of jump in off the coattails of you guys a little bit.
Yeah.
You saw the transition. I mean, other companies see the transition period, and that's such an interesting thing to think about because I kind of, I got in later where it was, okay, what do I think? What do I do? And just kind of did it my own way randomly by chance and it worked out. But the transition would have been an interesting concept. I feel like that's a really unique spot that doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah. The pandemic shifted so much about society, but the media business took it the worst. And those who haven't been able to adjust are suffering the consequences. And in many ways, people are totally in control of their content they absorb.
Right.
And some people choose to absorb bad content, but that's okay. It's their choice. It's cool.
Yep.
So it has changed a lot. It changed a lot about the industry, how we make money, who we attract, and how it all goes down. But at the end of the day, it's about the people. And one of the things I appreciate appreciate about you, and I sense you're a highly creative person. You're constantly looking for an outlet. What other ways have you done that through your life?
That's a really good question. I feel like I just choose something new, and it doesn't mean that I try to stick to it all the time. I just feel like something comes up and I think about, okay, what's the best thing for me to do here? What's the best thing XYZ? What do I want to do today? And a lot of times, I think a lot of that with my medical health my health side of things kind of did shift it, because you realize, okay, I'm in a room with an uncomfy bed and it makes noise and there's things beeping by me and it's a white room with white walls. It's not much to do here. And you start to find your outlets. And I don't know that they necessarily framed it to where it is today, but with YouTube, the YouTube side of things, like, I've done just about everything in that genre. I've made gaming videos. I've made, the videos I make now. I've done personality takes about XYZ thing and, try to do kind of the comedy route a little bit. Not really, but just, being whimsical and funny, I feel like. But there's a lot of different ways to do it. And I don't think that people, let me rephrase it. I think a lot of people take the time to say, what is going to be successful? And we need to throw that stuff out. Obviously, success should be defined by what you enjoy in life. And I don't mean to preach at people who are watching, but sometimes you think about it and it's like, okay, this video had 1,000 views. That's good. I'm cool with that. This video had 300 views. It sucks. Like, it's not so much to say, what did I do best at because of what other people validated? And I think for me, it was just, what do I want to do today? Kind of the Phineas and Ferb way of what are we going to do today? I know what we're going to do today. And then you pick something. I feel like the biggest thing is just being myself in any medium. So whether that's Twitter, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram, whether it's, even just day-to-day stuff. Like you go to a bar, you talk with somebody who's a drunk dude at the bar stool and you say, Avery's winning the Heisman. Here's why he is. Here's why he isn't. Like, that stuff is just so important to be yourself and kind of explore the different things. But it's kind of just whatever I feel like in the moment. So I don't know if there's necessarily a blueprint for me as to what the different outlets have been, but YouTube has really been the biggest because I can kind of be myself for extended periods of time.
Right. I agree the same way. Yeah, it's exactly it. This is my business. And I wrestle with the realities of this marketplace, the YouTube marketplace. The ones that get rewarded the most are the most sensationalizing. Because it's all about clicks. And when you get the clicks, the algorithm rewards you and rewards you and rewards you. And then you pretty soon your video's named, Kansas State cancels football. And then you talk about they moved the game, Iowa State, they canceled a football game, that kind of stuff. It wears me out because they are rewarded for it. I think it is dumbing us down because the most sensational people are fed to the largest audience. I kind of understand how the algorithm works. At the end of the day, Google doesn't care about the welfare of society or our mental health. They're just trying to make a buck.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing these creators are doing too. They're just trying to make a living. And I wrestle with that. Let's say I got out of the sports world. What would I do a YouTube channel on? And truly thinking about a job. And Joe, I can't do a YouTube channel on the craze of widgets because I know everyone will click on the widget videos and I can't do that. Damn it, Joe. I think what I'm saying is Kansas State needs a bigger fan base. Well, look at some of the trash from maybe a Texas creator or something. And it's got, 25,000 views.
Dude, Colorado. A lot of that.
My buddy David that does videos out there, and he's good.
Shout out to David, man.
Yeah, he's just an independent guy who does and stuff, and yeah, people love it. He's great. He's perfect for there. David's great because he's perfect. He sounds like a stoner, and he's not.
That helps.
David talks to buffs. That's what he does, and people love him. He's awesome.
I think you're right about it, man. I mean, it's such an interesting thing because 24,000 people enroll at K-State every year. Does that mean all 24,000 are going to look for content on the Cats? Absolutely not. But it is funny to see that Texas accounts or like Oklahoma or people that have these massive fan bases that are just, okay, we have national relevance consistently. Here's what we need to do. This is why we're going to do it. And you'll get 25,000 views for saying Baker Mayfield, Heisman winner, ? Like you're just going to get stuff like that. And it's an interesting thing to see because you wrestle a little bit with where does the morality line kick in? And it's not to call anybody out or do anything specific, but if I title a video, like you said, Kansas State cancels football, that's getting a ton of views. It just is. But do I want to be the asshole that's sitting there and saying, okay, well, Avery Johnson said that sometimes he doesn't like to think about football, and then all hell breaks loose. Like it's just such a funny thing to see how clickbaiting and how things have changed on the YouTube platform, because it is truly like, you look at it 10 years ago and it's all caps for every title. That's kind of how it goes for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I definitely wrestled with that early on too. But at some point, the pendulum swings back to guys like you, guys like me, guys, that try just to do their best with what they have. Doesn't have to be right. Doesn't have to be correct. Sometimes you might disagree, but as long as you're being yourself and being authentic, I feel like people want to show up for that. At least in my experience, I feel like the content I want to see is that way.
I agree. I respect my audience because of that. They're not falling for it. I just love those videos though when they do that, because then half the comments are, "You suck. You always do this now." And folks, by commenting, you're making it worse. Mm-hmm. You're rewarding them. They want that comment because the algorithm loves it. It's craziness. But yeah, I've just got to be true to myself and talk about something I'm passionate about. And the really only two things that get me worked up are Kansas State sports, college sports, and politics. And Joe, don't do politics.
Man, I'm gonna try to stay away. We'll see.
It's not easy sometimes. I've fallen back into the trap once in a while.
Well, it is hard with two guys with pretty unique health situations, I'd say, to not jump into the politic route. But I'm gonna plead the fifth until Avery's running for mayor. Then I'll have something to say about that. Then we'll talk about it.
How special has he been for the K-State football brand?
He's been awesome, man. He's been awesome. I know that it's funny. I was talking with my cousin about this recently. He's getting ready to go to K-State in his freshman year, and he was talking to me about it and saying, all right, it's funny how one person can say Avery Johnson sucks, he shouldn't throw a football, and say he should transfer to receiver or trade to receiver. Facebook does that a lot, actually. But then you look at the next guy and it says, okay, this guy's winning a Heisman. The views about him are so vastly different. I'm obviously on the Heisman front. Like, Avery's a prolific dual threat quarterback. 10 years ago, maybe you have the other conversation where it's, okay, is he the most effective quarterback at this moment? But shoot, you look at the way the NFL is now, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, like you look at the mobile, dynamic, athletic playmakers, Avery fits that mold. Yep. Also the fact, and we've talked about it a lot, the main behind him, the salad up top, like that is a brand. And there's, kind of, not to take a targeted group at somebody, but like a lot of the olds kind of look at it and say, why the hell does he have his hair? Cut the hair, dude. You look stupid or whatever. That is branding. That is NIL. That is big time show stopping tickets. Like, he has been such a great thing because it continues to put Kansas State in national spotlights. And then you look at a Lincoln Cure, then you look at Dylan Edwards, guys that are going to be damn good players for the next 2-3 years consistently. And Avery specifically is the guy that kind of put that next chip in the cake, or the next candle in the cake, so to speak, where it's, I'm a massive national recruit. Dan Lanning's my second best friend right now. No, I'm going to go play for Chris Kleiman. I'm going to stay in Manhattan, Kansas, because that's my home. That doesn't happen. You and I know that as well. Like, it doesn't happen consistently, even at some of these blue bloods. Texas doesn't land everybody in the state of Texas. Now Texas Tech has money out the wazoo. They're going to land some of those dudes, but it is truly incredible to see the way the kid handles himself because, since what, 14, 15 years old, he's had the spotlight on him and he continues to step up. That's big time.
I think the most intriguing thing I have about Avery is he's getting offers. They're coming for him. And he could leave for a lot more money, I believe. But he doesn't. He has no interest in that, brother. His dad's told me that. Mark said, he's always the most mature kid in the room. And he's the one that says, I made a commitment here. I love it here. I'm going to stay here. And that's pretty cool because that's becoming very rare that kids will choose where their feet are because it's where their heart is over money, because now they're getting so much money. Good heavens.
Oh my gosh, man.
We need a NIL for creators.
Dude, I hope so. Add the NILC, man. We need the C on there. NIL Creators Plus, man. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Give me thoughts on this upcoming season. I wouldn't plan on talking football, but here we are. I'm wildly optimistic, trying to be cautious with it, but I see something in this team I've seen in other K-State teams.
I love that. I agree with you. I also think that, you saw him. You sat next to the guy. Everybody go watch the video. Fitz had some awesome interviews for media days, but sat next to Chris Kleiman. Don't you feel there's a quiet confidence about him that he doesn't want to say what's inside the locker room? He doesn't want to say what he has. He doesn't want to unwrap the present for the rest of the world until August 23rd. but it feels like that guy knows. And I feel like that's the vibe I've been getting in every video. I don't know if you agree with that or what the case is, but something's there for sure.
Now, when he tells me they've got more weapons, and that really struck me. If you look back on why this team's kind of fallen short at times, is it would be a lack of weapons. Like they had some good weapons, but then that next step wasn't quite there. And this team feels like it has that. There was a kind of an off the cuff comment he made at media days that I thought he's sending a message here. Because we've all talked about the 4 offensive lineman transfers mixed in with the returners, and that gives him a really solid 7, 8 deep. But he's bringing up John Pastore, who was hurt in the spring, and he said, "Don't sleep on him. He was going to be one of our tackles, and now he's he's telling people if he's our 9th guy or 8th guy, we're really good on the line." And I thought that was really interesting, and he did that on a couple other. He threw some other people out there like, no, he's sending a message, and maybe it's that John Pastore comment could have been a message to his offensive line room. I know we brought you in, but this kid's healthy again, and he's going to push you. He's kind of doing those kind of things in his media discussions where he's pulling the Snyder, sending the coy message to his team or to his specific player in comments. And yeah, I picked it up a lot from the players too. They're really confident. They see the difference. BJ Payne is the living example of the difference. Oh, yeah. He looks like he grew up in a year. I mean, he went from a really athletic college kid to a damn man that's ready physically for the NFL. So I'm fired up. I'm ready to get it started. I'm dreading Ireland. I'm dreading it. I don't like to fly. But I'll be home. I'm sure after a week they'll return me to the United States.
I would hope so. Otherwise, I don't. If this show is hosted by Gills, we got a problem, man. Gills going to be, jumping around. He's cutting through things. We'll be in trouble.
Yeah, it won't be Life of Gills. I don't know. He's
a good dude.
I love that. He does a really good job. And if he had to start doing the videos, I think he'd do pretty well with it. But he's a
good friend. Good friend, man.
Let's do a whole segment on Gills being a dork.
We'll throw a Carmody in the butt. I love those 2 dudes, man. Those guys are the best.
Brother, I got so lucky. I did. Gilts reached out to me and said, "Hey, this is Ryan Gilbert, one of my managing editor now, my other full-time employee." He reached out to me when he was in college. "Hey, you want to do my podcast?" I'm like, "Sure, I'll do your podcast." Met him at McCain. Yep. Loved him. And mostly what I loved, I just kind of pick up a vibe from people. I got it from you too, brother, that, I'm just doing me, and I'm confident in me, and I can carry on a conversation with whoever I want because I'm confident in myself. I feel like if Ryan Gilbert had to sit down with the president of the United States, he'd ask good questions. Well, he'd break into his Trump impression, so it'd be weird. But, and that's kind of the presence of self. And so I hired him part-time, and he came on the pandemic hits, and we lose our lease early in the pandemic, and we had to move out. So he brought his friend and roommate, Cole, to help me move. And yeah, now they're Cole's in charge of recruiting. He's still teaching, forming young minds in Olathe, Kansas.
Shout out. Those 2 dudes,
they're legit.
They were responsible for the first time I was ever on the radio.
Really?
Yep. They had a sports show my sophomore year of college, I think. I think Gil's a year older than me, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. He's an old man or so. But him and Cole had a podcast, and they asked me to come on. They're like, "Hey, man, we're going to talk some NFL football. Would you want to jump on?" I was like, "Yeah, dude." And it's the same thing. You pick up the vibe, and doesn't matter if it's on air or off the air, same dude. And I think you've really surrounded yourself with guys that just, they're confident, but they're also good at what they do, and they enjoy it. So those are the things you look for. And it's awesome to see this thing continue to grow.
Yeah. And, I've brought on 3 students now. Our mutual friend, John Grove, is an intern. I don't know if I'm going to let him end it this summer, but journalism school at K-State's cranking right now.
Yeah, they are.
It is. And that's Drew Smith. I mean,
I love that guy.
He was on the first season because he was the first person I knew that got COVID. He's changed everything about
he's awesome.
J school and particularly sports coverage. We're all of a sudden producing really good sports journalists, which is good for my business. That's, what though, Joe, that's one of the most fulfilling things about my business is You go back through the 25 years, 27 years of all the students I've helped and what they're doing now from, Jeremy Crabtree was one of my first, and he's big in the recruiting industry.
On 3 now, I think, or something like that. He's
I don't think I'm not sure he is anymore. He was with them at that startup. And then, just going across the board. The number of people, that's fulfilling, man. You look back and see who you helped.
Got to be, man. Sometimes we forget how much that a video or a kind word, something does to somebody. And then, you talk to them weeks later, years later, months later, whatever the case is, and they'll bring up something you say in a quick passing thing. And it's like, that's crazy that stuck with you. I didn't even think about it. That's crazy that in that moment, but man, it's just such a cool thing. Such is life. It's just cool when things work out for people, but really it's the guys and the girls that they work their tail off and they enjoy it. That's the way they're headed. It's awesome to see so many people come through and do that.
Yep. Let's take a short break and hear from our sponsor, Blueville Nursery.
For competitively priced landscape design, irrigation, and lawn maintenance, turn to Blueville Nursery, a family-owned business with more than 50 years of experience. You can trust the Blueville team to design and create a landscape that will accentuate your property's aesthetics. And visit our garden store 6 days a week for the best products in the area. From ornamental trees, shrubs, and flowers, Blueville has it all. Blueville Nursery, located on West Anderson Avenue in Manhattan, Kansas.
Now, let's return to the studio. Let's drill down on your daily routine, because I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this pill regimen.
Yep.
I thought at the peak of my treatment, I was doing, 25, 30 pills. It was a couple dozen. It was gross. I can't imagine swallowing that many pills, but it becomes, people don't understand. You can give me in the morning now, I take all my vitamins and pills together. It's like 11 things.
Yeah.
But I imagine you have to take them throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. So in the mornings, it's about 10. And for some reason, every single drug they make vitamins, every single one of them is the largest thing you've ever seen. Like, they're always gigantic and taste like crap. So that's a fun process. But it's usually about 10 pills in the morning. And I'll probably expand on this a little bit more, but probably 4 years ago. So January of 2020, which didn't seem to work out year-wise for many people, a couple months later. But in my case, there was a super drug that got released. It's called Trikafta. And, I almost tear up about it, so I'm going to not do that this time. But my mom and I would talk about it because we would fundraise every year. We do the cystic fibrosis walks, and we do all these different fundraiser things. I was an ambassador for Children's Miracle Network hospitals, and so they're a big proprietor around the country, but KU Med is a big part of that.
Right.
And they do so many good things for so many people. They provide different specialists to help you with coverage, with care, with, if you're struggling in school, they'll have the right person to come out and proctor exams. They'll do this stuff like that. And they just help with whatever you need. And so at a young age, this kind of shaped what I'm doing now, but I think I was 12 or 13, and I got a phone call eventually through the hospital, and it was a lady named Jill Gerard, and she is one of the main ladies at KU Med for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And she basically asked, she's like, hey, we've got this event happening down at Arrowhead Stadium. Would Jill be interested in just telling a story? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. You're 13. You're not quite embarrassed yet. You're also still embarrassed about everything. But I was like, yeah, whatever. It's a small event, sure. We get there, and turns out I'm speaking to an entire room of people at Arrowhead Stadium, and it's 500 people filled with every single manager, regional person that works for Sam's Club, Costco, and Walmart. And the person I'm going on after is Mitch Holtis, which is the worst 1-2 combo of all. I don't want to talk after that guy. How do you follow touchdown Kansas City unless you start off with a touchdown Kansas City? But so I went up there and I was nervous and spoke, and that was my gateway drug, just to talking about myself and talking about my history and my past. And it kind of grew to where I was at now. And a lot of that was something that you'd sit there and you'd say, all right, this kid's 13 and he's dealing with a disease that, full disclosure, the life expectancy was sub what I am now at that age. It's, I'll jump into this later, but years go by and the age expectancy goes up. And so I was the guy that was at the thing where you read the books, the outdated biology textbooks, because cystic fibrosis is like patient zero for Punnett squares, that section. You get the recessive and dominant, and the little subsection basically says, hey, a common genetic mutation is cystic fibrosis. and the life expectancy is 16. Well, here I am sitting as a junior in high school reading the outdated bio book. And I was like, I don't know if this is up-to-date information. But so much of it was just putting one foot in front of the other. But long answer short, the super drug came out and it revolutionized care to the point where I went from 4 hospital stays to 5 hospital stays a year to I was in the hospital once in the last 5 years. And that was something I'd never experienced. Like it was ridiculous. Like I feel normal, which is something I never anticipated, but it was something that was a breakthrough, and I gained weight that was healthy weight because a lot of CF kids are malnourished and undersized and can't get the nutrients they need. My lungs felt like there was just a 25-pound plate lifted off my chest so I could actually breathe. And there was a lot of little things that we never expected to happen in my lifetime. My mom always said that, my mom's my superhero. She's my best friend, dude. Love her to death. Awesome lady. Real quick shout out. But shout out Christine. She's also in my profile pic on YouTube. So if you see the thumbs up on graduation day, that's it. But she would always say, hey, we're working our tails off. We're going to find you a cure. I don't know when it's going to happen, but we're going to find you a cure. And I think at the back of both of our minds, especially as I got older, it was, we'll find the cure for the next person. I don't know if it's going to happen for me, but I'm going to do everything I can so that the kid that starts their life like me, where they're a kid and they're figuring things out, doesn't have to deal with this crap. Let's figure it out for the next generation of person. And the fact that it happened in my lifetime is just the most ridiculous thing of all time. It blows my mind to say that miracles truly happen when you least expect it. And such a blessing. But doesn't mean the fight's over. Doesn't mean it's easier. It's just, well, it does mean it's easier. It doesn't mean it's ending, but it's been a wild 1-2 punch to kind of switch off that for sure.
Do you ever have a tangible feeling of living on borrowed time?
That's such a great thing.
Or stolen time?
Such a great thing to say. You ever listen to the Clint Black song, This Killing Time, It's Killing Me? So much of life, I think this is something that was something I didn't anticipate, but I always had the feeling of, okay, I need to live big while I can because I know that the end isn't going to be great. Like it's going to be 25. You're not going to be sitting here on the Life of Fitz podcast. You're going to be sitting 6 feet under the ground somewhere. That was something that's in the back of your mind. And I know that you've had some of that experience, the philosophical side comes out a little bit, but it forces you to grow up at a really young age. And that's not fun. But the biggest change was now that I'm not this idea of what I once was. Obviously, I'm still fighting. I still have to do the 2 to 4 hours. I still have to take the 50 pills and stuff. My hospital stays are way shorter. They're way different, but it is still a process. How do I come to terms with what's next? What's the next chapter? And for probably about a year, which is going to sound ridiculous because I basically found a pseudo cure, I felt really depressed because it was, where do you go from here? I'm supposed to be this, and now I'm this. How do I reframe that? What do the next steps look like? And so there was a weird period of melancholy and nervousness of, how do I live long-term? Because everything had been so short-term. It'd been these massive things. Write a book, start a YouTube channel, graduate, do this, do that. I didn't think about how do I sit on a porch and have a beer with a good friend? How do I sit there 20 years down the road and fish with my son? I didn't think about that stuff because it wasn't a possibility. Like it's just not the way it's supposed to be. And that change of, hey, let's stop speeding through this. Let's be where your feet are. That year was a really tough period, but probably about, right after college, it was like I was 23, I think. I graduated in December of 22, and probably till about October of that year, it was like a big, hey, what's the next step for me? And how do I feel comfortable with that? So I think that's a great way to say it. You're living on borrowed time, but it's just taking every penny I can get.
Living the day that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my biggest thing. I've always been a person that looked back at my failings or, I should have said that, or, kind of beat myself up or those. There's absolutely no purpose of that. And it's funny how cancer made me realize that negativity I've been welcoming into my life, inviting, is something I can't have anymore. I just can't have it around me. And yeah, so you kind of become a better person in a weird way because you got this appreciation of the moment that you didn't have. You took the moment, it was just the moment. Now it's like, damn, yeah. I'm here in Kansas City at a concert with my buddy. It's just, it's real. Everything's a little bit more meaningful. It almost makes you philosophical, as you mentioned at one point. You do. And you know what? We don't know what the future is. We just don't. And the weird thing about when you're in our circumstance, you don't stop dreaming, but do you edit those dreams that, well, I can't have a long-term goal, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I'm not going to be Tim McGraw and do everything before I die.
Right.
I plan on laying there going, yeah, I never rode that bull.
I don't need to go skydiving all the time. I'll tell you that. But
my luck, that's how I die.
That's, you know, it might not be the worst way. There's a lot worse ways.
For me, it would be.
But I think it's interesting because, you know, like cystic fibrosis patients, they don't go to college. They definitely don't graduate college. Yep. My super med came out early, well, basically the second semester of my sophomore year. And prior to that, I had never been out of the hospital for more than 3 months at a time, 4 months at a time at best. College isn't shorter than 3 months for a semester. That's not great. No. And you know, it's 21 days at a time. You're not going to graduate. Like you're just not going to get your stuff done. And that's where people like Andrew Smith, people like Ian Punnett, rest in peace. I had a lot of conversations with people as to say, hey, there's a real chance 3 months into this thing, I might be as close to death as I could be after just overexhausting myself. But I'm going to try to be here every day and do what I can. And, you know, K-State, the Student Access Center, there's a lot of people that really helped out with that. But my first semester was the biggest trial for me because typically, and not to generalize everybody, but cystic fibrosis patients go to college and there's two things that happen. One, you likely haven't been out of the hospital for 6 months ever. That's just not the way it happens. So that applied to me. And two, you don't have your mom there. You don't have your dad there. You don't have your support system, whether it's your grandma, your best friend, you know, whoever motivates you to take these pills and do these things. Like, I'm in college. I'm going to go have fun. I'm going to go drink a beer I'm going to go hang out with my friends. I'm going to do what I can do. I'm not going to worry about being the sick kid and have to take the pills and do this. So there's a pretty bad crash. And that first semester, man, I made it all the way through. Entire semester, didn't have to go to the hospital. And it was so bad that the entire first month and a half of summer, I was in the hospital the entire time. And it was like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to do this. I don't think this is going to happen for me. And so my folks, I don't think ever really realized, like, they didn't entertain the idea of, hey, he's not going to go to college. They didn't entertain the idea of he's not going to be a regular kid. He's going to live this life the same way he's going to, whether he's a sick kid, a totally normal kid, or whatever the case is. And so for that was the biggest thing, was having people around me that said, you know what? No, you're not going to just not go to college because you don't think you can. You're going to do it the way you want to do it. If you want to go, you're going to go. And you know, lo and behold, K-State's so important to me. It's, you know, where I met my fiancée. It's where I graduated. It's where I did all these different things. It happened for a reason. And you know, whether you're religious, whether you're philosophical, whether you believe in whatever you want to say, something was compelling me to do the right thing. And whether it's my mom, whether it's, you know, God, whether it's whatever, everything seemed to work out that way for a reason. And I can't tell you what it is, but I think a lot of it is one foot in front of the other. And then if you trip, you just get back up again and do your best. I mean, the best way, my buddy has it, and I know it's a long answer, but
that's great.
My buddy has a saying that it's pretty dumb. Love this guy to death. My buddy Nate, he's actually in a military base in North Carolina. Yeah, very different place.
It's like North Korea. It's close.
You know, it could be the same. The barbecue is probably about the same. I don't think it's very good out there. But my buddy Nate was talking to me in college because he came and lived in Manhattan for a year. His saying was, it's not real. Doesn't matter what it is. It's not real. You're sore today. It's not real. You're tired today. It's not real. Your lungs hurt. It's not real. So whatever you need to tell yourself, you can do, you know, the cliches of it is what it is, keep thugging it out, whatever the case is. A lot of time when you really listen to the silly cliches of, hey, this isn't real. Like, yeah, I'm going to die early, whatever. It's not real. Doesn't affect me today. I'm going to have a good day today. Yeah. And that stuff really stuck with me, I think, going forward. It's really altered the person I am today because of it.
Well, not many cystic fibrosis patients meet the love of their life, get engaged, let alone make it to 25. But tell me about you and Lauren. How'd you meet?
She's the best, man. She's the best. She's a lot smarter than I am, a lot funnier than I am.
Smart.
She knows a portion of K-State stuff because I talk her ear off. But I met Lauren actually at K-State on the bowling team. So shout out the Wabash Cannon Bowl if you're bowling in the Union there. We both bowled, and Lauren had her shoes and no ball. She threw a 6-pound ball, and I think she shot like a 72 the first game. And I had grown up bowling. It was just like a weird pastime I did with my dad. So it was a little better, I would say. But we met there, and it wasn't anything immediate like love at first sight. It wasn't like, oh, that's the woman I'm going to marry. But it was a person that I enjoyed talking to. And I just knew that. I was dating somebody else. She was dating somebody else. And we just stayed friends. We talked. We enjoyed each other's company. We'd bowl and practice and hang out, whatever. But it was never anything too much more than that. And then somewhere along the way, I think we both just kind of opened our eyes. And she had broken up with a boyfriend. I had broken up with a girlfriend and went to the next steps of like, do we see this going, forward? Do we see this as a relationship? Do we see it as whatever? I can't describe why, but there was an inherent love immediately, like as a friendship and appreciation. And when we started dating, it was like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be. This is the person you're supposed to be with. This is the person that you're meant to be with, because man, she has made me just such a better person. And a lot of the philosophical stuff, like, a lot of that's through her. I realized like I need a friend that understands me, that understands, hey, today sucks. I don't want to get out of bed today. I'm laying in bed. And there's someone that understands that. Or it's, hey, I know I'm being lazy. No. Get up out of bed. You got to do stuff today. There's someone that's there motivating you and being your friend. And conveniently enough, like she's about to graduate from PA school and be a physician's assistant. So she's in the health field. She understands a lot of the give and take to that. But I just feel like we just kind of worked out. And I know it's a short way to say it, but man, she's awesome. I enjoy time around her. She makes me laugh. She makes me smile. She's beautiful. She's funny. She's smart. It's I got really lucky. I outkicked my coverage, I often say, but sometimes big time players make big time plays, and that's all I had to do.
You can recruit.
Yeah, sometimes Matt Wells, I'm here for you, dude.
Yeah, you can recruit. That's what I tell people.
Yep. I hope I can recruit quarterbacks as well as just the love of my life. So if not, we're gonna have a 5'2" blonde lady playing quarterback Kansas State. That might not help out much, but
I mean, when it comes to husbands, I'm kind of the 1988 Kansas State Wildcats. Really not winning, but I did recruit some key players that led to the rebuild.
That's it. The rebuild was big. It needed to happen. I mean, you need to lay the foundation there.
When you're going through something like we are, the way the partner handles it is so important. Mm-hmm. They're constantly walking that tightrope. They can't be too permissive and say, okay, have a good day. Just lay there in bed. Mm-hmm. They also know we need those days. They let us take those days, but then if the days become days, they're like, hey, let's go do this. You want to go for a walk? They start hitting like, get off your ass. I mean, right? They know that balance.
They know the laundry's looking at you funny, sitting there in the dryer. You're like, hey, how sweet would it be to have some folded laundry right now?
That's never happened to me.
Well, good. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Folding laundry, man. It's funny. It is a really funny thing because I don't know that we understand at face value because we're experiencing it for ourselves. They have to make such a massive sacrifice. And I know you'd understand that. And Lauren's a similar boat where it's, hey, if I'm pulling you onto this boat with me, there's a real chance it could hit an iceberg in 6 years. There's no guarantee that I'm going to live to be the father of our kids or be your husband. I might just be your boyfriend for 2-3 years. Are you okay with that? And we had that talk early on because it was pretty bad at that point where my health wasn't great. I didn't know if I'd get to, I kind of viewed 25 as the cutoff of like, it's probably the checkout point. That's the floor I'm going to. And she never entertained it that way. It wasn't like, how are we gonna do this if this happens? It's like, that's not going to happen. You and I are going to have a life together. We're going to do it the right way. And, it's not always as simple to say as just power through, just figure it out. It's all going to work out. It's sunshines and rainbows because there's some shit that happens. I mean, you know that as well as anybody else does, but in a way that almost makes you more comfortable because someone that you love understands what you need even when you don't think you need it. And it's a beautiful thing because they make the sacrifice for you and for themselves because, you're not doing this as a one-man crew. You need somebody else to help you. You need somebody to be there with you to experience the highs and lows. And that goes for everybody. It doesn't just go for you and I, but it's so special to see these type of people make sacrifice because they understand, hey, this is what I want too. I don't want to live life if it doesn't have you in it. And it's a pretty beautiful thing for us.
You just said something that I do too. We treat ourselves like milk and we had this expiration date. Mine was 60, yours was 25. Mm-hmm. That's when the doctors, said, no, there was like a 75% chance that I wouldn't see 60. And of course, I'm 61 now. God, how the hell that happened? I don't know. But it's weird. You like, as you're approaching that age, you're like, still here, still here. And then you just go by it and you're like, okay, well, now I don't have that expiration date.
Yeah. I'm the same boat, actually. I think that's a great way to look at it. And it's not something everybody understands, but you get through the expiration date and there's not a secondary date. It's just open. It's a blank canvas. And I think that's so cool. Like, I don't say, all right, didn't work out at 25. We'll double back at 30. Like, it's not going to do any of that. You made it past your expiration date. That milk's probably okay. Don't drink milk if it's at past your expiration date. It doesn't taste very good.
It's not a good metaphor for
not a great metaphor for yeah. We don't need to be encouraging milk drinkers 2 weeks past the date. But it's funny. The expiration date doesn't restart. It's just open. And that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's freeing in a way. It's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the whole health thing puts boundaries on who you are and where you are. And then you slowly realize, no, they don't.
Right.
Oh, you know what it is? It's not real.
Damn right. It is not real. I love it.
It's not real at all.
Not real.
What else do people need to know about your journey? What are we missing here? Because it's unbelievable. That was the Cliff Notes version of the hell you've been through.
I think that sometimes this might sound really weird. So I feel like you might understand this, but I almost feel like sometimes these ghastly diseases, these horrible things, they are demons. They are awful.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't know that if I could snap my fingers, I'd do it again differently. And
crazy, me too. Yeah.
It's informed who I am. It's made me who I am. And I've changed so much because of it, positively and negatively. But some of it is the idea that, if it had to happen to somebody, I'm laying on that sword. I'm getting real comfortable. I'm not letting this happen to somebody else. I know I can handle this. I'm going to take it. And it doesn't matter if it's going to be, hey, you're dying at 6 or you're dying at 60 or you're dying at 600. Like, if somebody has to do this, I'm going to be the one to do it. And I'm going to make sure I see it through, come hell or high water. I want to do it the right way, whether it's the way that everybody else is going to get a hand dealt. Everybody's going to get a standard this, and this. Let me do it the way I want to do it. And I think it's been almost cool. Not cool to be sick, not cool to be the kid that doesn't get to play 7th grade basketball because he's too unhealthy. Not cool to do that, but there's elements of it that don't get the thought from other people because they say this must be such a hard thing to deal with. It is. It sucks, but I get to speak behind Mitch Holt to say a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I get to be the person I am with my worldview informed based off of, hey, I'm not going to make it that far. How do I make the most of this moment? And then now we're on the other side of the coin where it's, what are the next steps ahead? That's something I would never take away. I feel like it's changed the person I am, but I don't know, man. I think sometimes talking about myself on top of, like I said earlier, it's about being yourself and it's about being who you are. K-State, there's a lot of ties from college football and college sports to the greater person beneath that, because you understand, like, when I watch your daily deliveries and whether it's a Fitz health update, whether it's a realignment thing, whether it's this or this or that, like, I understand you're going to give it to me the way you're going to give it to me. And just because the topic is this or the bullet point says this, that's not going to change your opinion. You're going to be you. And so much of that is life, where I feel like, whether you're depressed, because mental health is such an ordeal, man. It really is. It sucks, man. Mental health sucks. Even when you're doing positive, it takes one little thing to throw it off. But so much of it comes back to just being yourself, riding the highs and the lows, and figuring out what's on the end of the roller coaster. Because if you can do it, like, just take the steps, man. Keep doing the right thing. So I don't know if that sums up anything, but that's at least the philosophy I've tried to do in YouTube and life and, football, faith, family, whatever the case is. I try to just take the next step one at a time, and we'll figure out where I'm at eventually.
I always freak people out when I say cancer's made me a better man.
Hmm.
They're like, what? I'm like, yeah. Because I fought depression my entire life. I've been on medication for I don't know how many years. Which anyone going through depression, trying to do it without, look, I'm not a big pharmaceutical guy. I'm really not. I think there's a lot of other ways to go about it. I think we're overprescribed in many ways. But that's not one to mess with, because it's like getting a flashlight in the dark. It's not going to help you out of the darkness, but it's going to show you the way.
Yeah.
And so that's been life-changing, but my depression's been far less.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the shit I was depressed about wasn't that important.
Right. I tell you what, we missed out on the transfer from Kansas State, and I'm like, man, maybe this isn't that big of a deal. I mean, it still sucks,
True.
Kick in the crotch, but I'm like, you know what? I was going to die at 25. So, I mean,
exactly.
What do I care if this one and done NBA player didn't play at Kansas State?
Exactly right. It is humbling. You say that I'm glad it chose me because I'm up for this.
Yeah.
And I feel like if prostate cancer was a team, they screwed up, man.
Dude, they picked a bad up
because I immediately made my goal because I'm used to living in the public eye, and I'm used to if I screw something up, everyone knows it. Mm-hmm. So you know what? Hell with it. I'm shameless. I'm going to talk about erectile dysfunction and incontinence and all the stuff guys absolutely don't want to talk about. I'm going to make them uncomfortable to the fact where they're going to get numb to that discomfort, and they'll talk about it.
That's a great way to
do it. I'm going to see how many brothers I can save as I go out the door.
Dude, that's awesome. I think so much of that, it's hard to jump in, but that speaks to me, man. Like,
yeah,
a good example, obviously health, mental health. And then you get like the physicality side. There's the generation, like my folks are in the generation. You're kind of in that background of there's not an ask for help. There's no one that wants to ask for help. I don't, my back's killing me. I definitely broke my third vertebrae, but I'll take an ibuprofen. I'll be okay. Dude, ask for help. There's no issue in asking for others. Like, there's a give and take to these shoulders are built for a reason. Put something on there. I'm going to hoist it up. But at some point when there's things that you can't lift by yourself, it's not so hard when the second person comes and helps out. Obviously mental health isn't exactly that. Like, it's an awful thing. It's such a hard thing, but there's times for physical issues, for mental issues, for really anything, money, financial issues, so much of these stresses that, man, if you let somebody in, it's going to be a little bit easier. And so talking about like prostate cancer, talking about ED, talking about these things, like that's going to make it so much easier for people. It's the same reason nobody wants to talk about money. Dude, talk about it. Talk about this, talk about that. If you be yourself, everybody's going to appreciate you for it. It doesn't matter if you're talking about, the 98 Wildcats, or you're talking about something that sucks in your day. Like, you're going to have good things and bad things. If you're yourself, people will love you through it all.
Great point, brother. Great point. We'll keep plugging away, partner. You inspire me.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's been a blessing. It's cool to meet everybody. And, I'm such a big fan of the show, so it's cool to be sitting here. But, I remember watching back both Chris Kleiman episodes, got the Coach Tang episode, got Coach Wells recently. Love that dude. I mean, there's a lot of good people you've talked to, and I know you're helping a lot of people. And so you inspire me as well, man. It's always good to see you kicking and plugging away.
Brother. Okay, so now you're kind of my competition, but you're not really. And I'm getting ready to go on vacation. We recorded this a little bit early because I'm going on a little family gathering thing, and I need to record a bunch of DDs. A bunch of my you got a theme for me to kill for the next week. And see, what's cool about this is when this releases on Monday, I'll be back from vacation. Okay. Everyone will know at this point if I followed your advice or not.
Okay. This is a lot of pressure.
I know. This is what it is, though. You big go through this. I need to do a video. What am I going to do it on?
I need 2 off the rip. I need 3. I thought of a third. First, I need Fitz's top 3 additions, whether it be incoming freshmen or portal pickups, both sides of the ball, offense and defense.
Okay.
So there's 2 videos right there.
Yeah.
Third, I need a kicking video. None of us are talking about the kicking game. You asked about it with Chris Kleiman. I need you to expand on the kicking game because that kept us from winning a lot of games last year.
Yep.
Whether you're given the pick of it's Leighton Simmering, it's this guy. Let me hear if you think that the second year of Coach Katzer is going to be better than the first. I want to hear that one. And then I also want to hear, what are you most excited for in Ireland? Easy one right there. I need to hear what you're most excited for beyond the football, beyond the moment. I want to hear what Fitz's biggest takeaway is going to be from Ireland beyond the game.
Good Lord, you just filled it's perfect.
My brain, man, it moves. It doesn't always give good things, but it's at the top of the dome. I got you.
I love it. So I'm taking notes, folks. That's what I'm doing right now.
I'm going to be counting down that Monday video.
Brother, I love you, man. Thanks for being part of my life. I'm glad we have connected, and like I said, you bring the goods every day.
Thank you, man. You're big brother to me. I always I love and appreciate you, and it's an honor to be your friend and just get to be a part of this life and have you in mine as well, man. Thank you for everything.
Thank God you didn't say you're like a grandfather.
Hey, I'll leave that one for the next episode.
He's the real deal, man. Isn't he great? He's just the real deal. And again, I don't want to be overly philosophical, but I think when you go through a challenge like he has at such a young age, he's been scrapping and he knows who he is his entire life. It's been defined. It may not be defined in the perfect ways, but he's a battler and he's fighting. And we'll all end. That's not a question here. It's about when. And, you know, when you get past that expiration date, as we talked about, it's pretty incredible. There's something freeing about it. And now life's an open book. It's going to end. That we know where it's going. But now I'm more prepared to enjoy everything that happens between now and then. I appreciate Joe being on. I remember, guys, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean much if you're not here. And I want you to be here. And I want to do as much damage to the prostate cancer demon as possible. So help me out here. If you're 45 or over and haven't had your PSA, your prostate specific antigen scored, do so. Demand it from your doctor. I want that baseline score. And look, guys, if you have a history of prostate cancer in your family or you're an African American, 45 is your start date. Don't mess around. If your doctor says it's too early, I'm going to just say this. Doctors are not always right. They weren't in breast cancer and they're certainly not in prostate cancer. And we're getting them there. But take control of your health and get your PSA score. I don't know who we're going to have next week because I did this one well in advance, but I'm sure it'll be a great guest in the next Life of Fitz. Until then, take care, everybody. I appreciate you listening to this week's edition of Life of Fitz. And thank you to all the great people at Blueville Nursery for sponsoring our show. This has been a Spirit Street production.